This is Dungeon Defenders Redux, episode 2, and I'll be just doing some more Tinker's Lab Nightmare Hardcore farming at first, and then fissionable after. So I'll need to get my characters, or at least the majority of them, to level 74. Exact same build, nothing's changed. If there's time in this video, might also get a genie scimitar. If not, it'll be next episode, depending on how long this video goes. Trying to keep it under an hour. I guess I could talk about the classes in Dungeon Defenders and in Redux specifically. There aren't any new classes in Redux compared to Live. Live actually has an extra character, extra DLC character, the Hermit, which is not available in Redux, unfortunately, so buying the DLC doesn't allow you to play the character in Redux. Installing Redux, when you have the regular Dungeon Defenders, you can right-click it in your Steam and click Properties or Settings or something like along those lines, and then Betas. There should be a Betas tab, and then a drop-down menu with a drop-down menu, and then you click Redux, and it should install Redux. Probably should have gone over that first episode, but well. Redux, compared to regular Dungeon Defenders, has a lot more content. Even though Redux does not get updated anymore, and Live is getting updates, Redux still has a lot more content. There are a lot of active players, but the ones that are active are generally doing maps solo and just farming because it's more efficient. You're getting more drops per hour because you can just add alt characters, and there's not really any benefit of being in other players' lobbies for the most part, unless you're just trying to help people or learn things. There are a few maps where it's 8F3 where you do want to be in groups because it makes it much more efficient. True Boss Rush, Temple of Polybius, a couple other maps, mostly the maps that are similar to that, but there are a lot of those maps that I just... True Boss Rush and Temple of Polybius is very late game for the most part. Even once you have ultimate gear, it'll be difficult to clear True Boss Rush, and there's a very long list of achievements you need to complete. You need to complete Ultimate Defender, and that's a very long list of achievements. And then you also need Eternal Defender, I think, for True Boss Rush. And then you need to clear the Eternia Shards DLCs on, at the very least, Nightmare Hardcore. I think I'm not sure if you complete it on an Ascension, whether it counts, but I don't think it does. For safety, I'll say that it doesn't, but there's a lot of achievements that you need to be able to do. True Boss Rush, Temple of Polybius is like a DPS map. In normal maps, you'll have to run around, build on an assault type map. You're just fighting non-stop. Send the wave, up the summoner. So you you want a DPS character, generally a monk, sometimes a barbarian, but only when you're in a group with a monk that you want a barbarian. Barbarians are pretty much never used at all for anything. There's occasions where you'll use them on bosses, but there's a Series EV ability, I think it's called Beam or something like that, and it uses your weapon in your hand, and it multiplies it significantly. And there's a few weapons in the game that it multiplies it even more. So it makes them especially good to farm and use on the Series EV. The two that are used by everybody are the honey gun, attainable from Infested Ruins, and the Ember Scepter, attainable from Ember Mount Volcano, which is a harder map than Infested Ruins is, in my opinion. Infested Ruins, you can kind of choose the boss. Both maps have a boss, but Infested Ruins, it is significantly easier to kill the boss with just towers. There's a strategy that works. You do need moderately high stats to clear the map on Nightmare or Ascension with just towers. You can do it with less stats, but you'll need a DPS pet or a character, or both, really both. And then Ember Mount Volcano, there is a strategy on Nightmare Hardcore to clear it with just towers, but you need very high stats. Not really possible for the most part. You can also use you already have a DPS weapon for a Series EV. You can have a DPS monk stand in upper layer of the map, and then have a Series EV next to them. And the Series EV activates its ability, which is on the number 3 ability, Proton Charge Blast. And you need mana, so you drop mana, pick up mana during the wave. It charges it up, you get it full, and then you activate your hero boost on your monk, and then you activate Proton Charge Blast, and you hit at the enemy, which is a Phoenix on Ember Mount. Then you can beat the map. It is a little inconsistent though, and you can just lose the map regardless of how you play. That's why, in my opinion, Infested is generally just better to run, and you're more likely to get a usable honey gun for beaming, which is the term used for using Series EV's ability. Honey guns just generally roll better than Ember Scepters do on the stats, on the damage, the quality, which quality affects the damage it gets per upgrade. Ultimate's getting the most, and anything beyond Ultimate is the same, but you'll just have a likelihood to roll better upgrades. The more upgrades, more damage, basically. Past the Ultimate, you don't get extra damage per upgrade, but you'll just get more upgrades. And then below that, it's not quite as good. And Series EV, DPS Series EV, with Hero Boost Monk, does a lot of damage to a lot of different bosses. And it is a very good strategy to kill a lot of the bosses on Nightmare and Ascension, because the majority of them cannot be hit by towers at any point. Monk should be almost level 4. Already is. Okay. I'm gonna my initiate get hits instead, so it gets more XP. Fortunately, I can't use my summoner to damage anybody, but 2 F8. A few more runs of this. I might. Summoner is going to take so many more runs though. Initiate will get double the amount of experience the summoner will get. I don't know if I want to do like 3 or 4 more runs just to get the summoner leveled up. And I'm going to get efficient bowl anyway, and it won't matter. The fish in the bowl gives so many stats that armor is like not a big deal. Fish in a bowl I think is equipable level 70 or 60. And again gives 500 to 600 any stat. Very good builder weapon, especially early on. Random goblin. Physical wall break. These enemies are really weird sometimes. They just don't like cooperating. Luckily they generally aggro onto something else, another wall. This guy. There's also spiders stuck on the edge of the map. Enemies get stuck all the time in this game, unfortunately. Can really slow down the wave. Got 2 more runs for my Series EV. All my characters, F7, 4, Summoner. Grab armor again. It's really good. I think I'm just not going to bother to look at any of the items right now. Once I get my characters to 74, then I'll worry about it. Grab anything that's mythical. Generally, the classes are very weighted towards one side in terms of viability late game. The Adept, the Initiate slash Monk. Also Adept, you can use an Apprentice if you want, but I think the Adept has significantly higher movement speed and also higher cast speed, which matters a lot for being quick. Which speed matters in this game when you're farming maps dozens, hundreds of times. And then Initiate is also significantly faster than Monk, so you generally want to use an Initiate as a builder instead of a Monk, but you can use either if you want. I think it has the same increased cast speed, movement speed, as the Adept does over the Apprentice. Other characters are not that same. And then Series E is generally also always based on just about every... I don't know if there's any map or anything else where you do not use a Series EV because of the buff beam and reflector beam. The buff beam is the big point, but reflection, power buff beam, and the physical beam are all used quite a lot. And then Summoner is 4th, and then anything after that is less significant. I would say it's probably Countess and Squire are used very, very rarely, and then Huntress or Ranger probably after that. For building, anyway. For DPS, the Monk, with his Hero Boost ability, which only he gets, increases his damage and any other characters around him significantly, so he is always used when there's an option to DPS. He also has a very strong second ability, Tower Boost. So as a character specifically for Tower Boost is also used. And then second place for damage is Series EV, and then probably Barbarian or Apprentice. But Apprentice is pretty much only used very late game. And you still need a Monk, just like anything else. The Series EV and the Monk are the most important though. For DPS that will be used quite a lot, especially the Monk. The Monk with his hero boost ability enables so many strategies, and a lot of maps would not be clearable without it. Or if they would, it would be clearable very slowly. Beyond the Apprentice, it's probably DPS Summoner in terms of raw DPS, but I would put personally DPS Summoner a little bit higher because you can just spawn it in and it gets a ability, Pet Boost, and it increases the pet's attack rate and I think attack damage as well. And with the Summoner you can equip 2 pets at the same time, so getting 2 pets plus boosting them, and then if you also have a Monk boosting that, even if you don't, it's still a significant amount of damage. Does use mana though, but a lot of the time you might run Genie and then second pet, and then with that strategy it'll give you mana and you can up your pet boost pretty much all the time, boosting your damage more than if you had just had 2 separate pets. That's why I've also made a DPS Summoner, because I might use it for a few things that later on you'll just be AFK for anyway. So having a little bit more damage and speed up the rounds. Level went much quicker. Nothing got stuck. Be about 2 more runs, more after this one. I might have to do 1 more. 3. Oh, level 74 on this character. Can equip myths, but there isn't really a benefit to me right now. I'm clearing the map so fast it doesn't really matter. This character is level 73. I'm gonna go ahead and up it. I will put that on. It's godly, but I don't think my summoner will get to level 74 really. The reason why I'm equipping the godly, though it has negative stats, is because summoner generally just wants minion health. You want a certain amount of the others, but it doesn't matter too much. Minion health is the main thing, because you're just using the minion units, which are entirely separate defense units, to be able to add a few extra buildings. And monk, well, not the monk, summoner builds minions with this, 6, you click 6, and then you have all these. And they're all, like, sometimes used. The warrior is pretty much useless. Really has a use, it always gets stuck. Doesn't really do a lot of damage. Generally, you just want to use archers, spider, which are very good. They'll double the damage an enemy takes. And then also mage minion will heal the minions, so that basically have a wall that heals, which is not common till late game for other classes. Divine and Void Armor have their own special extra little thing whenever you have a piece that has Divine or Void. Divine Armor will heal your defenses. You have a piece of Divine Armor equipped, on that character, the defense will heal very slowly. So late game, really late game, Series EV has Divine Armor. Divine Pets and Weapons do not give a bonus though. But there are Bracers, which are an accessory. They go here, and they also count towards that bonus, give you extra healing on your towers. It also heals the character in case you're using it on a DPS character. Except for on a few maps where it just increases your HP total. And then Void. The Void bonus gives your towers 2.5% more range per piece, as far as I can remember. And then for your DPS characters, if you have a Void piece equipped, it increases their DPS by 2.5%, which is sounds like nothing, but late game 2.5% increase in damage is a lot harder to get. So it is fairly significant. And also you just get higher stats on the armor. It's Divine or Void, generally. Compared to plus plus, which is a rarity below. Divine crystals will be moderately difficult to farm if you're not used to farming it, and especially with the Genie Sim that it comes from Insane, it's not going to be the best. It's going to be doing a lot less damage than one from Ascension would be doing, obviously. So it'll take a lot longer. After you get a few Divine Crystals, you can upgrade your armor, and then clear a town in the Cliffs on Ascension or Nightmare Hardcore to get a better Genie Sim, and then just go back to farming the map. Once you have around 4k stats, I think, you can clear Ascension Hardcore, Town in the Cliffs relatively easy. Not Ruthless though, which is another. Playing maps on Ruthless is a lot harder than Ascension Hardcore. Ruthless is a separate modifier from Hardcore. Makes the enemies a lot stronger. Try to hit an enemy and then run away so I don't get hit. You get hit during a wave, you get reduced XP. Even though I have this here, it still just runs through. This mage over causing problems. I'm just summoning the holographic decoy with the 2 button and then Hero detonate. Makes it instantly go off, but you have to be within range. Let's see, is it level 74? 73. 200,000 more XP. Summoner still, because getting armor, don't need anything else. Or run. Due to the fact that my summoner might not be particularly good, The map, Moonbase may be a little bit difficult. Could always do a few more runs if I like it. This map, which I might actually end up doing, just to make Moonbase a little bit easier. It can pull hard with only 200 stats. Grabbing every armor piece that I see. I'll do 2 more runs after this next one. 3 total. That should get my summoner to 74. Set level. This first part here is generally the most repetitive. After you do Moonbase, everything kind of... It's not as repetitive. For a while at least, till you get the EC farming in mass. 1 Divine Crystal is 10 armor pieces, but the armor pieces generally roll fairly well. You get about 1.3 ultimates per Divine Crystal. And ultimate rate determines a lot of things, like how many divines or void you get. Every 108 ultimates you get, you'll either get a divine or a void. Divine and voids can roll either a divine or a void. So the tiers go Myth, Transcendent, Supreme, Ultimate, Ultimate plus, Ultimate plus plus, and then Divine slash Void, which are the same quality. Now, when an item rolls ult, when it rolls ultimate, regular ultimate, it has a chance to upgrade. And it has a 1 in 8, I think, or something like that, to upgrade to the next quality, which is ult plus. Then it's like 1 in 50 or something like that for plus plus. 1 in 40 maybe for every ultimate you get. Then it upgrades to ultimate plus plus, and then about a 1 in 108 for it to either roll divine or void. And when it rolls divine or void, it's just a 50% chance generally for it to be either divine or void. It's just kind of luck. Voids are generally preferred, but you get a lot of stats from divines as well, so just equipping anything you get is pretty good. Past this stage, once I have a Genie Scimitar, I will be pretty much exclusively using Apprentice for tower building, and apprentices generally want 3 stats, but 1 in particular. Power damage. Show in a second. Go ahead. Hit with this character. I'll explain. Okay, so apprentices or adept, they're the same thing, pretty much. Want these 3 stats. On EV, they're called beam damage, shock beam, beam reset. But on pretty much every other character, they're called something else. On the majority of characters, this is called tower damage. It's called tower HP. This is called tower range. This is tower rate. Which I don't get killed somehow. Now, the apprentice or adept, same thing, they want tower damage, but they also want this, tower rate. And then preferably they want to have tower range on the piece as well, so they would want like positive in all three of these stats on one army piece, which these can't roll yet, but Myth and above can roll multiple stats. Let's see what level the characters are. I think I'll go ahead and do 2 more runs for the Summoner. Needed to get level 74 anyway. The characters pretty much, Apprentice and Adept anyway, want those 3 stats, but they want tower damage the most. Because their towers, the reason why the Adept and Apprentice are used past the early game, which is this point. Once you have Myths, you're kind of in the mid game, but not really. It's like just barely at the end of early game and the very beginning of mid game is Myth getting level 74 and equipping Myths. But once you get to the mid game, Apprentice are pretty much always better for just about everything. For tower damage anyway. Strictly tower damage. Other classes just do not clear maps as well as Apprentice and Adept do. But you will use other towers from other classes like the Strength Drain, the Ensnare Aura, the Electric Aura, all from the Monk/Initiate. Like earlier, the Buff Beam and Reflection Beam and stuff like that. And also the Physical Walls, which are these. But those are used less commonly. And then for the minion, you also sometimes use Summoner if you're on lower stats. Place minions. They generally don't do a lot of damage, but they can on Nightmare sometimes. 2 more runs. Luckily, after this point, I won't need to do this map again, I think. I might need to do it to get to level 83, but to equip Supremes, because after Myth, there's Transcendent and then Supreme, and Transcendents are equipable at level 78, but the XP you need to go from 74 to 83 is pretty significant, so I'll most likely need to farm this map, I think, on Ascension, which Ascension should give me significantly more XP. I think it's like 8 or 9 times on this map. Might be on every map that it's probably 8 or 9 times that of Nightmare's XP gain. So that'll be significantly quicker, even though I'll need a lot more XP per level. Here, it was like 6 million XP to go from, it might have been more than that, it might have been like 9 million. To go from 74 to 75. And then there's Transcendence equipable level 78, and then Supremes after that are at level 83, which is even more XP. I think it's around 130 million, roughly, something like that. And then Ultimates are about 300 million, 340 million XP. So the amount of XP you need goes up a lot, but luckily in Redux there's Ascension, so you can farm XP very quickly. But it can still take a while to get to level 100, which takes a billion. And there's nothing after that. It's just level 100 and then you're done. But you will want all your characters level 100 eventually. Level 90 is a big stepping stone as well, because you can equip ultimates, and ultimates will a lot better than Supreme. So I should explain a few things about pets and stuff like that. So in Redux, well, no, just in Dungeon Defenders in general, there's armor, pets, weapons, and then accessories. And they all go in different slots on your character. Some characters can equip 2 weapons, and then the summoner can also equip 2 pets, but he can't equip any weapons. It's a bit of a downside, but also a bit of an upside as well, so it's not that big of a downside. Just real quick. Getting my monk up because my initiate's already level 74, but I want my monk to be level 78 at least, so it can equip a transcendent whenever I get it. Okay, the slots. So you have 4 armor slots. Most characters have 1 weapon slot. Series EV has 2. And then a pet, which can go right here. The fissionable is a pet, and it can roll up to 600 stats, but it'll probably be around 400 to 500 in each stat. And then there's also 3 accessories that you can equip later on. They can go in this slot, and this slot. And they can roll a good amount of stats, up to 500, roughly. And then they can also roll secondary stats that can go up to 300-ish. Also, certain pets and weapons have movement speed on them. And movement speed is fairly nice, like it'll have percentage movement speed increase over here. So like there's a builder pet later in the game that increases your movement speed by 1.55%. So on top of your hero speed, which can only go up to 100. After 100, it's just not increase your speed anymore. The turkey on a treadmill pet, which is acquirable from... Turkey on a treadmill pet is acquirable from Wintermire on any difficulty. You have to complete it on survival. The final wave rewards it. I think it's level wave 45. No, not 40. 35. And it is one of the better builder pets. It has the highest movement speed out of any pet in the game, but it doesn't roll the best stats in the game. The stats in the game are on Baby Old Ones, which are a special pet in Redux that you can craft at the Void Forge, which is also special to Redux. And Void Crystals are what you use. They're a separate thing from Divine Crystals. You can't use Void Crystals to craft anything like armor, but it can craft weapons, but the weapons aren't really that good. Don't really roll stats that are that high. But generally the Void Crystals are used to reroll armor that's above Ultimate ++ quality that you don't want to use. Like if it's a really bad piece of armor and it has a bunch of negative stats, or the stats are really bad, and reroll it. It's above Ultimate ++, so if it's ++, Divine, and Void, you can reroll it with Void Crystals. Generally, you're using your Void Crystals for rerolling and then making Baby Old Ones, which are the highest stats you can get on any pet in the game. Well, that has movement speed above a little bit. There's also dice that can roll 1099 and also have movement speed, but they're very difficult to farm and not generally worth it. And Baby Old Ones, which you can craft from Void Crystals, go up to 999 in any stats, so significantly more than Turkey on a Treadmill, which can only go up to 750 in the stat, if you're lucky. And then there's also a radioactive diamond, which is a equivalent to Baby Old One in terms of stats, but it has much higher movement speed, but it's also harder to get. The farm, there's a couple maps that reward radioactive coal, the winter maps, that have bosses at the end of them. Winter Wonderland 2, Winter Wonderland, and Wintermire. On Ascension, when you complete it, you will get 1 radioactive coal per character, per person, per Steam account. So it is fairly slow. Because you need 22 radioactive gold to make a radioactive diamond, but radioactive diamonds are the best pets in the game, so really late game, that's what people farm, if they need them. But it is the builder pet that you'll see on a lot of the people that are very, very geared up. Generally, turkey on a treadmills are also fine, for the most part, considering the time it takes to farm radioactive coal to make radioactive diamonds. The radioactive diamonds have slightly less movement speed than turkey on a treadmill as well, but they roll better stats, that's why you make them. Certain characters do care about different stats for towers and stuff like that. The Series EV later in the game will pretty much only be used for buff beam, which buff beam damage increases the damage, scales off tower damage. You also want tower HP, and then you'll want about 2,000 in both of these stats late game, as that's about the capping point roughly for the increase on it. After that, it's not really worth to go beyond 2,000 points in tower range and rates on a Series EV. Be the last run of this. There's a lot of information that takes time to learn in this game. Don't worry about it too much. There's a lot of niche information that you'll slowly start to learn. Some information you just have to ask people about. There's a Discord where people generally will help newer players if they have questions about the game. DDRNG. You can search for it on YouTube and then you'll get an invite link and you can use that. Join the Discord and then the Redux section you can ask people questions. They'll generally help you. If you're stuck on a part of the game that's particularly difficult and you need help, people will help you with that too. Fortunately, there's not a lot of available information beyond the wiki. There's a Dungeon Defenders wiki and it has some information on Redux, but a lot of things are left out. How to play the game, what to do, how to progress, how Ascension works, how hardcore works, how Ruthless works, how Nightmare works, how everything works out. What towers are good, what towers are bad, what items are bad, what items are good. It's an unbiased opinion, but a lot of the information is missing on the wiki. And there's very few Dungeon Defenders or Dungeon Defenders Redux YouTube series or any sort of detailed guides on how to play the game, what to do. This is also just a guide based in video format. What to do, how to get gear. You don't have to follow it exactly, but I would advise very close if you're worried about progressing. Back to Tavern. Something else.
Can I help you find any?
Gonna put the best gear on my EV.
Greetings.
And best is most stats possible. But also I want set bonus. Now that I'm 74, unequip everything and sell it. So you don't sell your
My pockets are
physical
empty,
items.
so
Put them all in a folder. Just looking for stuff with every tower stat. It's also useful, but I think I have a better one with that one. I can only equip 2 weapons for the series of, so I'm gonna look for armor. Take some time just looking. Make sure I have 4 of each piece. That's really good, but if I don't have 3 other plate pieces, I can't get the set bonus that I want. It's also very good. Just looking for positive event every tower stat. Preferably a high amount of positives, so like 100 or 80 plus point game. Also good. Also good. It's okay.
brown is realistic.
That's pretty good. Seems like pristine or male is what I'm going to use for this character, so I can get the set bonus. That is very. Just make sure I have all the pieces. I feel like if I don't have a good pristine piece, I won't use it. I will though. So pristine gloves. Find pristine boots. Positive stats. These are the only pristine boots I have, but it has a negative, but it's not that negative. But it'll give me the set bonus, so the negative stats doesn't matter as much. That was the best one. This one. Pretty sure this one was the best one. Takes some time to sort through gear. Pretty slow. This one's slightly better. Just need a pristine helmet. Even if it doesn't have all the tower stats, as long as it gives you the bonus like this. I just went from, 200 or whatever, 300, and now I'm at 860 and then 500 of every stat. This armor is fairly good. And then it also has upgrades. I have some mana. I should be careful. Anything above like 40k I probably shouldn't bother with right. And that's kind of an issue right now. Conservative. A little bit of extra stats helps. And then I'm also gonna respec. Because I already have this, so I'm just gonna just put it all in here. I'm at 1,000. I could maybe do Town of the Cliffs, but get a fissionable anyway, so point really skipping it.
5, 6, 7. Did you need something?
Seems like just these 2 weapons are. And then this character, I want to have the second best gear on. Possible. For range, HP, power damage preferably, and raid as well. Pretty much every stat. But range and power HP are the biggest ones. With mail probably. I think I'd rather have this because it's higher HP. HP matters for initiate. That's actually really 7. HP and range matter most for initiate, as for auras scale directly based off that, and the amount of time enemies are inside the auras can reduce the HP of the auras, so having good HP and range is the only bits I have. So whatever. And then now I'm at like this, but I haven't respec yet. I don't think I'll use mana on this character. It's not that. Stats are super high. I think I'll 140 here. Pressing control and click adds 100, and then shift and click adds 5. It's probably fine, and then rest into HP. This is okay. Once I get a fish in the bowl, it won't really be a problem. And then Yes Monk, which I'll be using as a Power Boost Monk in a second once I respec. I'm gonna dump it all into there. If I need to, I can respec again. I'm just looking for... On this character, since I'm using it as a tower booster, I want hero health, power boost, and then hero damage in case I need to kill something. I also want resistances to be good, positive, which are the hammer, the skull and crossbow, then the big fire, and then the electric thing. Plate seems to be the plate or something else. Other maybe. It can take a lot of time to sort through armor when you're at this stage. So many things with so many different stats. I think I will be using leather. A couple good pieces with it. Even though that doesn't have hero damage, its resistances are good, so I might use it. Let's use these. Probably that one. This one's really
I can take down any dragon. Just look at that head over there.
probably this one. Yep. So now I have Tower Boost. Tower Boost is Monk's number 2 ability. It's an aura. It uses mana and increases the damage of all nearby towers and heals them. And the higher the stat, the bigger the damage increase. So I'm basically just going to do this a few times. I don't have up any actually. And then Summoner.
You're looking for something specific?
Summoner, I'm just looking for anything with HP basically. I don't care too much. It has the other stats, that's nice. I want to try and have some of the other stats, but if I don't get them, it's okay. That's fine. HP is the most important thing a summoner, for the most part. Boots. Their boots are not... That one's good. Also fine. I might upgrade anything. Just gonna respec all into your HP. Just gonna be using these as walls and Summoner. If you click T and then summon minions, if you hold a number key on your keyboard, you can rebind when you're hovering over that. So like I just changed the 6 key to an archer minion, so I don't have to go into this menu every time. 7 to that, because that's what I'm going to use. 8 to that. I'll put 9 on Spider Queen. The other ones I can always use later if I just click T, summon me. But having them set to hotkeys like that's what the summoner does. Next episode will most likely be fishing a bowl first, now that I have armor and stuff. You don't need exactly this amount of stats. You have it roughly around here, it should be fine. Generally you want radius and stuff like that on this. Tower damage and preferably all the stats if possible. Tower boost and then positive resistance. And then summoner once HP and then everything else is... I don't even have the same set. Oops. Does it even matter really? It does. I'll go ahead and change the set. I don't think it matters actually. Let's see. Might be less stats. And slightly more. A mistake on my part. I didn't using the wrong set. The set bonus is pretty important. Now I have 850. My range is a little low, but that's fine. Next, I will be next episode anyway. Be Mission Bowl first on Moonbase or Hardcore, and then out on the cliffs. Find it. Scrolled past it a few times. Here somewhere. There. It's in a different place than it usually is. Usually it's at the bottom. I'll be doing this on Insane Hardcore for Genius Sim as well. And then farming Divine Crystals for armor.